Who did I go to when I needed an artistic rendering of my VW bus this past December? Jesus, of course. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wilson, the VW Bus. The story is about me and my 1967 VW camper bus. I'm your host, Joe Maspari. I hope that you're all caught up with the backstories about Wilson, as we're now on Season 2, Episode 4, and most of the work getting the bus roadworthy is all done in the past year and a half. We're now entering December of 2022. I've pretty much taken a hiatus from the bus life for a little while, and not just because the cold winter months are upon us here in the Northeast. My family is celebrating the wedding of my only son, Zach, and his beautiful wife, Kelly. Everyone who knows me has long known that my son and I are like two peas in a pod when it comes to our appreciation of all things automotive. We've resurrected a few of his previous vehicles together, but it started when he was just a little boy in his Hot Wheels and die-cast cars, and he was always my companion at the local car show and cruise nights. Well, now it's time that he ties the knot, and Kelly, my wife, and I decide to surprise him with a special automotive treat for his wedding day. We rented him a Back to the Future DeLorean time machine. We found a guy from Pennsylvania who had a stunning replica of the actual movie car with all of the functioning replica props and accessories, including the time circuits, flux capacitor, the hoverboard, sneakers, even the sports almanac. I should probably mention that Back to the Future series is one of Zach's all-time favorite movies. Well, he was totally floored, and although he did not to keep the real car or even go for a real ride in it, he's got some great photos of it with him for his wedding day. Originally, Zach and Kelly wanted to use Wilson for their wedding announcement invitations, but at the time, we were busy trying to weld up the floors on the bus, and I couldn't get it all back together in time for the photo shoot deadline. I do regret that. It would have been really cool. Well, it was after the wedding, as we finally got some time to relax, did I start thinking about podcasting again. I haven't done any podcasting for over 17 years, and although I do some blogging and the standard occasional social media, both personally and a little in my work responsibilities, I was hoping to try it out again and maybe keep my mind busy during those winter months, as I explained in Season 1, Episode 1. So one evening, as I flipped through Instagram and tried to get some ideas about my upcoming digital presence, I came across this nice VW bus rendering from an artist who specializes in VW bugs and buses, and he has a post stating that he does commission work. We strike up a conversation, and my new friend, Jesus, agrees to create some high-definition files for me that capture the look, stance, and patina of Wilson, and not just a random picture that kind of looks like my bus. I send him a few photos to work with, and in no time, he creates the digital artwork files, including all the details of my luggage rack, the jalousie windows, the patina, everything I'm looking for. He even made me specialized files for posters, t-shirts, stickers, everything of Wilson. You got to check out his work. Look up Zetina72 Auto Art. That's Zetina 72 on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you, Jesus. After I posted my new artwork on my Insta and Facebook pages, I figured I'd try my hand at creating some stickers of Wilson from the new artwork that Jesus had made for me, so that I could hand them out to the kids at the cruise nights this spring. I dropped into the website Sticker Mule for some 3-inch stickers for a pretty reasonable price, and in about a week's time, they had them delivered to my door. Okay, well, what's next? T-shirts, why not? I then took the t-shirt file and headed over to Uberprints to see how those would work out. I ordered a tiny pink one for my granddaughter and also a medium and a large, one for myself and one for Zach. I didn't think anyone else would be interested at the time. Those arrived just before Christmas, so I was able to gift them to my favorite bus junkies, and now that I was on a roll, I started playing around with other bus images for more shirts. I found an example of a VW bus cartoon image online, and I decided to crack open my digital art kit to try to recreate the front view of Wilson myself. I would not claim to be a professional artist, but I've always loved to draw and to paint, and also create and fabricate. I I've been creating and editing digital media for years now professionally as part of my regular job, but those are really easy adjustments, cropping and stuff like that. It wasn't too detailed and artistic in nature. And this project was personal to me. So after a few days, I was pretty pleased at the new Wilson front view cartoon I had now created. So I also made a sample t-shirt rendering. I posted that on the website, and I have some friends and family members that have already told me the sizes they would like, so I think I might be ordering up some of those soon too. This is my current Instagram avatar for the Wilson the VW bus page. I took a step back at this point to look at what I'd done so far. Well, all I was missing was a dedicated website, a podcast, and a YouTube channel, and aside from the fact that I was not monetizing any of this, and this was actually just costing me money, I was covering most of my bases. I got my website domain established for wilsonthevwbus.com and easily enough started making some quick basic web pages for my new project. The standard 4-page, basic layout, a homepage, podcast, merch, and about. I get a kick out of the merch page because I'm not actually selling anything, but rather just showing off my t-shirt designs. And I actually have text at the top that states, "You really don't want to buy Wilson merchandise, do you? Save your money and buy a VW bus." The missing link at this time was the podcast. So I was trying to get some ideas from other podcasters, and I came across a podcast that was supposedly for VW buses. And after a brief listen, it was clear that this was not about VWs at all, but the host mentioned how easy the Anchor app was for her to create her first podcast. I was out on a walk around the neighborhood at the time, and by the time I reached home, I had downloaded and figured out that app without any issues. I do use a few other apps like GarageBand to edit the podcast, just because I like the template that I've created for it and the easy process, but I think I also mentioned that in the previous season as well. I started to organize the episodes and seasons, tweaked my naming conventions to a standardized format, and posted the links on my new website page dedicated to the Wilson podcast. I dropped new episodes on Friday mornings and tried to promote them around the same time. As I was working on all of this, I was contacted by two hosts from a YouTube Instagram channel at the Combi Chronicles. I reposted one of their reels, and they said they had just started listening to my podcast. So I therefore jumped over to their YouTube site to see what they were all about. Lee and Willow are a van life couple from Birmingham, UK. Since 2019, they've been living the van life full-time in their 1976 VW named Ruby. Willow was an auto mechanic teacher, and she restored Ruby with her students in the UK before shipping the bus to New York here in the US. They then drove up to Niagara Falls in New York and down to Washington, D.C., Key West, Florida, and then they headed all the way over to California. They crossed over into Mexico just as the world went into the lockdowns of 2020, and that's when their adventures really took off. Unlike most van life vloggers, they often try to explore places not many people visit, which often leads to them breaking down and having to fix Ruby quite often. They've gone through a couple engines so far. You won't find any over-the-top drama here, just a van life couple and their cats looking to share their experiences with others. Their goal was to drive Ruby to Argentina, and they don't have a timeline, but are dedicated by their finances. So I'm hooked on the adventures and have watched every episode from the beginning, and I'm up to Van Life Season 5 in South America. It's pretty fun to watch. And Lee and Willow have inspired me to get back out in the garage and away from the keyboard now that the winter is officially over and pour some love on Wilson again. I plan on expanding my Wilson empire even further, but you'll need to wait to hear about those exploits in the next episode. Thanks again for listening, and if you get a chance, please stop by the Combi Chronicles on YouTube. That's Combi with a K, and subscribe to them. Tell them Wilson the VW Bus says hello.